Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining this beautiful Tuesday. Actually, it's kind of chilly here in Tulsa. I do have Michelle with me. What is up, Michelle?
Hey, my brother.
Doing good up there?
I am. What's that?
Pretty cold up there in Canada, huh?
Actually, it's been milder the last few days. So, but mild for Canada.
It's like 7 degrees or something?
Yeah, it's been like 4 to 6 degrees Celsius. So, hasn't been too bad. Mm-hmm.
Let's see, 4C to Fahrenheit. I always got to do 39. Jeez, that's freezing. That's
mild
about what it is.
Here.
That's
like
about what it
this
is
time
here.
of year, we can get cold snaps. It's like minus 30, minus 40. Like, yeah. So this is nothing. It's above zero. So it's pretty mild.
Well, I want to say yesterday it was like 74 here, which is 23 degrees there. I mean, that's super nice. And then I wake up today and it's cold again. It's like,
wow.
I thought the groundhog saw its shadow or didn't or whatever it is. And we were going to have the whole Groundhog Day thing.
Right. Yep. 6 more weeks. We'll see.
I look at the Schumann last night in the middle of the night and I send it to you.
You sent it to me.
I figured you'd be up.
Oh, yeah. I knew who it was as soon as the phone dinged.
So let me actually share so we can look at this together. Share, and then I'll pull this up here because this is pretty weird. I'm going to go full screen for you guys. My first joke was Rainbow Bridge, but you had one even better.
You like mine, Jacob's Ladder.
Jacob's Ladder. Which...
Yeah.
So there's Jacob's Ladder, I guess, in there's several things that talk about Jacob's Ladder. But in the Bible, at least, it's the ladder leading to heaven that was featured in a dream the biblical patriarch Jacob had during his flight from his brother Esau in the book of Genesis. So I wasn't really sure what it was. I was like, I don't really remember. But I don't know. What do you think? This is, what's peculiar about this is these perfectly spaced jolts of energy, which
looks like a ruler, markings on a ruler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which to me suggests that it's technology of some kind producing it, right? Because it's nature has more movement. It's not so regiment. But what is it, right? Technology from what? From whom? I'm not sure. So, or otherwise.
When you mentioned 144, I thought that's when the blast started, which it looks like it probably was about 144 for somebody.
Right. Which is when you messaged me.
Yeah.
It was, remember I even said in the because I messaged you the Jacob's Ladder thing, and because that was just the first thing that immediately popped to my head, and then I looked at the time and it said 144, right? Mm-hmm. Which is funny, which to me was like some confirmation of some of the things that I had said to you, about the impressions I was getting from it.
But that's strange. I mean, they're equally spaced.
Mm-hmm.
That's one line that we typically talk about.
17 hertz.
Yeah, and it used to be more at 23, but now it's dropped to 17. And I don't know what the heck that is. That looks sort of artificial, the way it comes in and out and in and out. But this definitely doesn't seem natural. I mean, you've got these perfectly spaced, I don't know, strong...
increments, yeah. We were talking about equating them to, like, notes or keys on a piano and how... because I always play some music for Shane before we come on. So, yeah, a lot of this equates to harmonics for me now. I don't know. I think that's part of the reason I've been pushed to play piano over the last year. It's just this understanding of harmonizing frequencies
But
and being compelled to do so.
as long as you've been looking at this, have you ever seen anything like this on
No,
this? Okay,
no,
because I've never seen anything like that.
no. And I've been looking at it for 3 years now, Shane,
Yeah.
pretty much daily.
And you can see that it was on for a while, probably about 45 minutes or so, and then it went off for,
And
I
then
don't know, 10
bleep
or
bleep,
15. Yep.
another little bleep there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I got some interesting pictures in my mind with that.
Exactly. Yeah, you
Message
were.
me.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
you made a comment like ringing the bell of the different frequencies, so to speak, and that does seem like what
Yeah,
it
I
is.
saw like clicking a switch. Well, we had a BQH session together,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what came back to me, some of the information that we talked about back then, and seeing these ships in between, the sun and the earth, um and that there is like a funnel of this energy. But I saw it like ringing a bit, like flicking a switch to
Yeah.
ring these notes, like a test run is what I was getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I don't know. That's within me. So everybody make their own interpretation. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. It's just how I read things and intuit things.
mm-hmm.
Right. So I just go with that. But
Yeah, that's really curious though. I just let me see. That was it's two. I guess it was yesterday morning for me then when this happened.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it had, when you messaged me, I think it had happened like 2 to 3 hours previously. So yeah, a few hours ago. And then we got that huge blast again after that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
In the early
amazing.
morning hours. And yeah, really
So
feeling
chime
a
in the
correlation
chat.
with dreams.
What you guys feel might be going on with that. I'm actually going to have Alexis Buck back on in a
Oh,
little less than
wonderful.
47 hours, and I'll see what she thinks of that because I know she'll probably
Oh,
have something to chime in with it too.
yeah. Yeah,
From
that's
Ascension
great.
Diaries.
Yes, she's wonderful. She's lovely to talk to. Really, really
Yeah.
nice girl. Yeah,
It's
really
really
like her.
encouraging. I mean, if you think about it, it's really encouraging to see someone so young. I think she's like 25 or so, or
Oh,
somewhere in
she's
there.
brilliant though. So smart.
And
Yeah,
like when
and
I was
full of
growing
light.
up, when I was 25, you didn't find 25-year-olds looking into stuff like that. If they were, I would have been the type of person that would have been trying to look into stuff like that more than likely. But
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
just seeing that is really encouraging to see how this newer generation just gets it. Even
Yeah.
like things like the Mandela effect, they don't freak out like us older folks do about like, oh my gosh, you're like, yeah, it changed. The song changed too, and they'll mention a couple other Mandela effects, but.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's really strange. I just had a Mandela effect happen to me. And, they throw you back like every time it happens because I had someone send me a video by an artist named Anastasia, and her name was spelled like the movie or like my daughter. My daughter's name is Nastasia, so it's like Anastasia without the A on the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was spelled just like my daughter's, but with an A on it, or like the movie Anastasia. So it came up in my suggested videos, and I thought, I'm going to listen to that song again. And I clicked it. Her name is now spelled, instead of SIA at the end, it's got CIA at the end, Anastasia. And I was like, wait a minute, is this just a different video? And somebody misspelled her name. And so I looked it up, and her name has apparently always been Anastasia with CIA at the end of it. Which
It's
CIA,
weird little spelling changes that don't make sense, eh? It
it's
seems
just
like a lot. Mm-hmm.
so wild to see it happen. And I know it's happened within like the last few weeks, because
Mm-hmm.
when he sent it to me, I'm like, oh yeah, this is that artist that I thought, you just think stuff like that, that's, you don't hear many names like that. And then I thought, oh, that's like my daughter's name. Oh, she spells it the same. It's got an A on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, all of that went through my head at the time, way back in like 2010 when she came out with the music. She's not
Right.
that big now or whatever. So I hadn't really paid attention. But when he first sent it to me, it was still spelled the same. And this was like a month and a half ago. And
Yeah.
now apparently sometime between when I watched it then and now it's changed. It's shifted, you know, and it feels
Yep.
very personal when it's something like that for yourself, and you know it's changed real recently. Because most things I see change, I'm like, when did that change? And I have no idea if it was a year ago, or a month ago, or a week ago, or a day ago. Because a lot of
Right.
people seem to experience them at different times. Like
Right.
I've had people like the Joel Olstein one. For me, like changed right around the time of like the Houston hurricane and all that was going on is when I noticed it. But then there's other people that notice it's just now changed for them, like in the last few months. So it's like weird the way,
So it
we
feels
really
like
do.
it's becoming more personal.
Yeah, it's wild stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
numbers coming up. You were saying how your mom was getting 222 a lot.
Yeah, and then just before that, like we were just talking about it just before the show, and then of course just before we came on, you're like, "Oh, it's two, here we're ready to go, 222," and I'm like, it's funny because Mom was just asking me about that and what did I think the twos were, um and part of it, I kind of see it as like, well, she's recognizing that right now, so because we talked about, well, what's the meaning behind twos, and twos to me, there's a few different meanings. There's one, you brought up balance. Did you bring up balance, right?
Right, I looked
uh,
it up, the angel
yeah.
numbers.
the
Hmm.
the other thing I see is communication, and the third thing is choices, making choices, right?
Hmm.
One of two things, takes two to talk. Balancing of two things. So because I go back to the cards a lot in my own interpretation, but the other thing that I see is that, well, it's also the current energy right now, like it's 2020, it's now February, it's 02, today is 0204. um
So
so
2422 basically, and
yeah,
it was just 2222 basically, like 2 days
what
ago.
yeah, what I
Now it's 234 for me.
was getting was really, it's about the communications of the choices now being made that are building our new foundation for this year.
Right.
So that's kind of what I was getting. And that in seeing the two twos and seeing that come up for her, it's become a personal communication. It's a recognition of this new way of communicating with the universe. It's when the numbers are speaking to you, no matter what numbers you're seeing, it's becoming, when you recognize it, it starts to become a communication. It can give you affirmations for what you're intuiting or what you're thinking or working on at that time. The numbers can sort of jump out at you at that moment and give you affirmations that you need to sort of weigh those intuitions
Yeah.
and get the affirmations you need. So I kind of see it as this recognition, like, oh, you're recognizing, it's kind of the universe communicating with you. Oh, we see that you are now recognizing this communication, and we are in turn recognizing that you recognize this communication, so we will keep affirming this for you. um and I think as you get used to that can broaden. For me, lately, it's been the three threes and the four fours, like especially ever since I went to, when we got that last huge blast kicked in before I went away to Colorado. um it's like it's a daily constant thing, the three threes and the four fours for me. The two twos pop in, but so we all notice different things. I've attuned myself in some way to noticing those numbers, and they speak to me at that time. So I don't think necessarily that, oh, if you're seeing two twos, you're somewhere over here, and if you're seeing three threes, oh, that means you're some. It's not compartmentalizing us, or it doesn't mean that you're at a certain level based on what you're seeing. It's
Right.
just your own personal communication that's bringing balance to the choices you make in a new foundation that you're forming. That's what
Yeah.
I'm getting for that.
Sacred Scribes angel numbers says angel number 222. Number 222 has to do with balance, like you were just saying, manifesting miracles and new auspicious and timely opportunities. Angel number 222 encourages you to take a balanced, harmonious, and peaceful stance in all areas of your life. The message is to keep the faith and stand strong in your personal truths. So I think I always feel like they're signposts of one fashion or another, you know what I mean? And I get all sorts of synchronistic numbers, incremental numbers, repeating numbers. It wasn't, I don't typically get the trends as much anymore, like just getting lots of 222s. But I did get the 5 and the 6 together, like, I don't know, about a month ago. Kept getting 5s and 6s together, like 56 or 65, of course.
Which is 11 total.
Which is 11, right. So, which
so
is
it still makes sense.
Yeah, it still drops to the 11s, which 11's my big one. 11 being my biggest.
Yeah.
Of all, you know.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting.
Well, numbers are a universal language.
Wait, it's Renee's birthday today?
Oh, it's Tyler's birthday today, too. That's what I wanted to say. So, yeah, happy birthday. It's Renee and Tyler share the same birthday. So I wanted to thank you for the reminder. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that today. So happy birthday to Renee and Tyler.
Yeah. Awesome. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it started at 222 for me as well, Joyce. Your central time with me. And it's funny, when I noticed it was going to be 222, when I was about to hit the button, it was actually 321 for you, like the countdown. Let's start. You know,
when
3, 2, 1, go. I love all those.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about 68 people in here? Awesome, you guys.
Hi,
Lots
everyone.
Of love and light to each and every one of you guys, and you guys watching later, of course. What's been going on with the dream thing for you? Because I feel like I've been having like really vivid dreams and not really remembering them still, or just remembering bits and pieces and stuff, bringing them back.
Well, you know what? I really have noticed with, you know, again, since Colorado, since we got that big blast, and we've had some little breaks and we had some blasts in there, but I am especially noticing the correspondence between the Schumann really, really shooting off and how much I'm able to recall in these vivid dreams. So how vivid and how real they are when I'm in them has definitely been maintained through the last few weeks. But what I'm noticing is how much I'm able to recall, because it's so vivid and so strong at that time, is definitely correlating with when we're really getting these blasts. But I'm still continuously getting the impression, yes, that things are very vivid, and they'll come back to me in very strong flashes through the day, like it was something that I really experienced. Like it could have been there's no difference in a memory from something that happened to me yesterday, as opposed to a memory that all of a sudden comes back to me from something that I dreamed the night before.
Exactly.
If anything, it's even more real.
Yeah. I've had that quite a few times, I'd say in probably the last year and a half, where I would remember something and then I'd have to question whether I was remembering it from a dream or from real life, and sort of like, man, did I really? And then I'd even have to ask, did I say blah, blah, blah? Because sometimes even in my mind, I'll go to say something and then I'm not sure, did I say it out loud?
Yes. Yeah, no, I know. We've had this conversation.
Right. We have? Okay, I thought it was all in my head.
At least I think we have.
Right.
And we've had 2 conversations, apparently, that I think we had and we didn't have, so I don't know.
Well, being that we're talking about dreams and visions, Pamela, of course, had that dream vision video I did. I took her video or her dream vision and made a video out of it because I thought it was so cool. It had a lot of parallels with some of the stuff I've seen around with, of course, you and Allison Coe's different sessions she's had, and just a whole wide range of what we see this happening here and now.
There is so many people that have had dreams like that.
And hers was repeating, by the way, so that wasn't a one-time thing. She got it several nights. You know,
that's really interesting. And how long ago was that when she had that happen?
I think probably last week or the week before is when I first heard from her. So
Really?
just
Okay,
in the
so it's
last
just
couple
been
of
with
weeks.
this
Last couple of
year
weeks.
that she had the dreams. So the dreams didn't happen last year. They happened.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Well, it was really cool to listen to. For me, for me, I've listened to lots and lots and lots of dreams that have, all these similar themes, and certainly many people with the wave dreams. I've had the wave dreams myself. Um Many of the descriptions that she gave, um I've had energetically in dreams, and in different dreams, in some different scenarios, but I could really relate to what she was describing energetically that she experienced. What, like, when she went into the sand and the what was going on with her there, that reminded me of what I've experienced in BQH sessions when I get
Mm-hmm.
the healing energetic work done. That definitely related that to me. um but when she talked about the wave hitting too, that really brought back my experience, my wave dream experience as well. um and how, yeah, it had to be like a year and a half ago. How real, and the experience of love, of being so loved, and then loving so much in return to this energy.
Yeah.
That was really cool. So
And also the email that you and I got from Maria about stepping into the energy wave. I mean, this is kind of
yeah,
a common theme we're starting to see around.
yeah, it's a very common theme. That's the thing. It's so and it's not just in dreams, it's in the BQH sessions, and and I mean, that's how I, found out about a lot of this. Is when I went to healers, I brought up, like, what are these dreams? Why am I having these dreams? And it was just so much information that I was being given in such detail, and I didn't know anything about. And she's like, "Oh, that's Ascension." I'm like, "What's Ascension?" I didn't know any of this stuff. And there's so many people like that out there that, have had these dreams. And even my daughter, my middle daughter, had come before I found this out, and even came to me, and I never told her about my dreams. And she approached me to say, "Mom, I'm having these dreams. I keep having these dreams," and described very similar to the dreams that I had been having repeatedly, and how real they were. And yeah, and it was shortly after that I found out, um, through the healer, and then just started doing my own research myself. And, you know, yeah,
Do you
here we
think
are
this is
today.
do you think this is like they're like, I don't know, rehearsals for it so that we're just in less fear when it does happen and
Yes.
so
Well,
people aren't
I mean, it was a
panicking?
big theme that was brought up, and it has been a repetitive theme. And I can see how it's being addressed in my dreams, teaching me, um, about, I mean, about not having fear in these situations. How energy so strongly within myself. If that's Renee messaging, you got to stop. I'm getting beep 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 on the on Hangouts. So sorry, guys. Um, where was I? That totally distracted me.
The dreams.
Yeah, speaking.
Yes, dreams of family are weird, Jody's saying. Yeah, like I had a dream about just hanging out with my dad the other day.
Mm-hmm.
As that, he's been dead for 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
but I got to just hang out with him just at his house. We were watching some people cut down some trees on his property, or I think it was the neighboring property, but we were just out there. He's smoking a cigar like usual, and I woke up feeling like I got to hang out with him, just like I just dropped by his house for a little bit and hung out with him, and it was
And
really cool.
yeah, and that's something I see that's been picking up as well too. This more and more communication with those that have passed away, um, and to me, it's like this veil thinning more and more. Like that communicate them coming back in. That communication is increasing. Those things will happen more. Those connections will happen more and more. It's
Hmm.
part of the veil thinning.
Yeah, that actually led to a strange part in the dream. I want to see if you can what your interpretation of it would be. So while we're out looking at the trees, we end up going into his family room, and we're looking at the color of the trim on the around the door. I'm like, weird. It looks black from this direction and green from this direction. And while we're like talking about this, my wife comes in and she says something, and she sounds like she's cutting out on a cell phone, like glitching out, like. And I'm like, how the hell are you glitching out in person? Like you're on the phone and stuff. And me and my dad start laughing or whatever. And then a moment later, she starts talking, and her speech is really like garbled a little bit, and I'm like, and then I went over to her and I'm like, here, let me see your face. And I'm like, smile, and she was kind of she was annoyed that we were laughing, that she was cutting out, But then when she got garbled sounding, I was like concerned about her health. So I'm like, smile. And when she smiled, her face was crooked. I'm like, oh my God, she's having a stroke, call an ambulance. And I woke up, so of course, I don't know. What do you think?
So what I was getting was that it's showing you that you were in a different place, so high, like a higher frequency. You had to be in a different frequency, right, in order to be having that communication, that level of communication with your father.
Because he's really passed on or whatever.
Because he really was passed on. Like you were really there with him in this different frequency. So, that
I had to tune into that.
You were tuned into that at that time. So right. The communication going to, not saying that your wife isn't at that frequency. It was just showing you
right.
the different frequency. That's why you couldn't hear her clearly.
Right. Because it wasn't a garbled thing at first. It was just like
cutting out.
Like the frequencies weren't matching or whatever at first.
Yeah, which I'm getting comes back to the communication that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And that communication. Right. Yeah, it was garbled, right?
Right.
It wasn't going through the medium smoothly. Yeah. You had to be there. You had to be there in that. And place.
Once I did go over to talk to her, it was coming through. It wasn't technologically messed up at that point. It was just like a normal, like when you see newscasters having a stroke on the air and they're just kind of talking gibberish. It was more like that than it was at first. It was like a cutting out transmission breakup sort of thing. And then when I left, like stepped away from my dad, like kind of like what you're saying, I came back down to our regular level, and then noticed that it was a different kind of garbled. And I had her look at me, and her smile was off, and I thought, oh my God, you're having a stroke. So yeah, it was just weird. It was bothersome, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It woke me up, actually. So I don't know. And I, of course, when I woke up, I'm like, you've been having heart palpitations? I felt great.
Yeah, she had her blood pressure checked recently, or?
No, she's typically got really low blood pressure, though.
Okay.
Usually abnormally low, if anything. Just like mine's abnormally high, even as healthy as I am. It's just a higher,
Yeah, I'm just getting that it showed you you had to tune the dial, like you had tuned into your father to be able to communicate him, but to go back and forth between the two, you have to tune back over to listen to that.
Yeah, and I actually thought maybe it was like in dream interpretation, like once I dropped back down to low, I thought, well, maybe it's this, and then my brain played it out that way. Because like I said, the next day she felt fine and everything. I'm like, okay, if you start feeling funny or anything.
Yeah, exactly. No, I know that would make you a little nervous. That's understandable. Yeah. But yeah, she wasn't coming through clearly. And
that was really the only dream in the last week. I actually pulled the memories back from it and was able to remember it. I had a lot of other ones that I wasn't able to remember anything from it. I mean, I know I had them, but
I think partly was because you were in that state of such high clarity. It is such high clarity. I mean, again, going back to the 20 vision, this is about seeing things to a whole new level that we haven't witnessed before. But we may be able to tune into that, but there's still others that can't make that leap yet.
Right.
So we're kind of going to be going in between the two worlds and having to communicate, finding a way to communicate between the two.
Yeah, that's
that it makes
interesting you said
sense.
that because yeah, that's very synchronistic with an email I got from Micah who was talking about the bridge of the song and is it like representing the bridge of the two worlds and things like that? And it's sort of like what you're saying. And then
The
of course
bridge,
the
yeah.
bridge we see on the Schumann, the ladder, the bridge, the
Again, it brings that up, being the
yeah,
bridge. Yeah, and I think it's showing you that role,
yeah,
and which is kind of what you're doing. You're in your with doing the show with the communicate. You're bridging two worlds.
yeah,
You are that bridge, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, yeah, I think it's just showing you that, and it's not always going to be like it's tricky to tune back and forth and listen. So, um, but an important reminder is to don't go into a fear mode when having to tune back into the that other vibration.
right.
To not go into fear as well. But
It's almost like this is the filling station for all of you guys. You come over here, you fill up, and then take all that love, light energy back out to the 3D
well, I hope
world.
so. I hope
Wherever you're
so.
working and take it with you. And it does. It makes our lights a little brighter when we can come and hang out and almost have that sighing breath of relief. Like, a safe place to come hang out, to talk, share
Mm-hmm.
ideas without people thinking you're crazy.
Without
And
anyone thinking you're nuts. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? What are you gonna do? Put yourself out there, but you have to let go of worrying about what other people are gonna think what they're gonna think, but there's different stages to getting there. It's been a
yeah,
process certainly for me since we've been doing that, of getting used to and adjusting to just
yeah,
speaking your truth, no matter what people have to say or what judgments they make about you or whether they like you or they don't like you or you
hmm
know
and
and
the
being
same
okay
way.
with it.
Yeah, in the same way we've been connecting on here, and then we've been having these connections in real life with these get-togethers in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
Atsuko had sent me a picture of her hanging out with
Renee.
Marianne and Renee, and
Mm-hmm.
so I love the fact that people are getting together, coffee shops or whatever, in their area, and then of course Marianne is with Feisty Kitty now in
Oh, cool.
Washington.
Oh,
So
awesome.
people are meeting each other, and they've got another family that they didn't know they had. And I want to encourage people. I saw that Colleen posted something on the forum wanting to do a get together in the southeast. And then I've been in contact with a few people in Florida recently. So perhaps that's another area. I mean, I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be at all of these, but there's people that are willing to organize these things and just get on the
Mm-hmm.
forum, figure out who's wanting to do something in your area or post something on there for yourself. It's free. You just have to, sign up on the website. That way it's more private. Not anybody can just jump on there. You have to have, you have to have your member or your password and stuff to get into the forum. And if you do try to get on there and you don't see the email it sends you, check your spam folder because most of the time it just automatically goes in there. It can tell it's an auto-generated
Right.
email. So
Right.
but yeah, that's like it's been huge for people to get together, and I think people can continue to do that. And it's sort of like coming here and hanging out. You get to go to a coffee shop and hang out with a handful of people, and it's so cool.
Well, it really is an integral part in creating this new world. Because, we start off as just the one and feeling sort of alone in this experience of
Yeah,
these dreams or whatever it is that's happening that causes us to wake up and go digging and ask these questions and realize that reality isn't. And often when you're at that point, you're just alone and there's nobody. You try to bring it up with somebody, the reaction you get, but eventually you get to the point where you find your group and then you start communicating but and then getting together and you're able to communicate like this is normal, this is my normal with
right,
somebody else who that's their normal. It becomes more real, it becomes more your reality. You're not questioning what these new beliefs are, as much when you feel the camaraderie of shared ideas and concepts and affirmations from others. And you can feel when you find that like soul and tune in and
oh
just breathe,
yeah,
yeah, just be able to breathe and be normal. And yeah, new
and that's
normal.
really Yeah, and that's really that's why I think, instead of having a conference, when we did have the get together and people can just hang out, it's not so. At the conferences, people tend to want to keep talking when it's ready for the next, time for the next speaker.
Hmm.
They're just like, I just want the hangout time. It's finally some people I can talk to. I don't want it to sit quietly or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have just get togethers where people can just kind of mingle and hang out and share their
Just be
stories.
themselves
Yeah.
without having to be a presentation,
Or
without
worry
having to
about,
be
yeah,
a schedule, without having to be commitments and responsibilities of
yeah.
what it is you're supposed to produce and what it is you're supposed to do. And
And to just talk freely. I mean, this is the
yeah,
most open minded, loving group that I never imagined there could be an open minded, loving group. You know what it's like? It feels like, and I've said this before, it feels like I left religion, went out on a limb, and, everybody I was trying to show stuff to didn't want to hear me. And then all of a sudden I'm this backslidden sinner that's left God. And I'm like, no, I'm just,
I'm just me.
going where I feel. And then I
Yeah.
go off in the wilderness, we're all alone, and then I come to this clearing in this opening, and I find all these other people that wandered through the wilderness alone, and here we are having this camp right in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and it feels like home.
Yeah. It reminds me of the visual I had, like, geez, way back back when we first started, and of us being just all over the map and coming from all these different places and walking and meeting on this beach, just being guided to meet on the same beach. You look, and all of a sudden there's all these other people, and you felt like you were walking all by yourself, but they've all come from, we're all just scattered all over the world, but all that coming together on that beach. And that again brings me back to the dream, which comes up so many times, of the wave and being on the beach and the wave coming in. And I really feel like that, we're at that stage of the game, and so many of us are on the beach now. But what we need to realize is, I think, and what we're really going to see the next like the first trimester of this of year, is another real mass awakening. We don't realize how many other people are walking through the trees or walking through the path, that we had to forge through the trees to get to the beach. And there's many, many other people now following behind us and going to be doing it. I think we'll really be surprised by that. That's another big wave that's coming in this awakening, is how many more people are going to come to this information over these next few months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to have this safe place. I went to
Mm-hmm.
write something to Kate Jacobs, and I hit KA, and then like all these names popped up. So many people that KA at the
Okay.
beginning. Katie, Kathy, Kate, and Karen.
Okay.
It's wild stuff. Let's see. Okay, so did we ever finish all the correlations between your dreams and Pamela's? Because
I think so. I just wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to mention how many of those things I've actually experienced. They're real energetic experiences beyond. I like the way you said it. It's like, there was one thing where you mentioned about the senses being wrapped up, like from 100% to like 200%,
yeah,
and what that feels like. I really recognize that sensation. Also, the energetically in the water she talked about, and what that felt like.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's many things that energetically I've experienced in different dreams and different scenarios that I could really relate to. And it's great to see those scriptures. It's like, I know that feeling. I've had that, because they're so beyond anything that you experience up until that point. Living like waking, dreaming, it's beyond anything you could imagine experiencing. And that's why it can be so overwhelming when you have these dreams energetically. Mm-hmm.
What's funny is that you can have, 20/20 vision. Here we're in 2020, but have 20/20 vision, and then your vision actually get way more sharper and clearer than you can ever imagine. Like, it can go beyond what you even thought was perfect at some point, and the hearing can go way beyond. So when she was like from 100 to 200, it's like, dude, 2 times as good as perfect. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Instead of 20/20, you're going 40/40.
Right. And she's like under the water and she's seeing for
Yeah.
miles under the water and then
That's right.
breathing under
And
the
the
water.
colors too. And that's
Yeah.
something I've always said to you back, being
Yeah.
an artist, I feel like I'm missing colors. I know there are more colors than what I currently have to work with. I'm convinced of it.
Right. There's a whole nother palette that you haven't even got to
Yes.
tap
Yeah.
into yet.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
it's kind of funny though, because when I was trying to create that, I'm like, now how the heck do I create this? You know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
so difficult to try to create something that's beyond our comprehension at this point.
That's
You know,
right. Yeah.
wild
Yep.
stuff.
Well, it was great visuals, and I think it's a great manifestation tool. We were saying, how much we've been encouraged to manifest right now, and being reminded, hey, like it's getting faster, so try it out, play with it. So well, what do I want to manifest? What do I want to well, it's like my ultimate goal is that energy. I want to be back in that experience of that wave, and that amount of love, and that whole experience. So it's a great visual, and to sort of be in a meditative state and listen to the words and sort of relive that experience. And it just draws it in. I think it's one of the tools that it will just bring that in. We're bringing it in to us. It's in us.
Hmm.
And it's part of that way we can bring it in. So
One of the things that getting on to some symptoms, we talked about this before, and it had subsided. I'd taken magnesium and potassium and things like that. It was cramps, like cramps in your body, muscle cramps or whatever. And years ago, when I was having these heart palpitations, I didn't know what they were. It was around 07, 09, somewhere in there. I didn't know what they were until I was like, I wonder if it's my heart. And then I started feeling my pulse and noticed that every time I had the weird sensation in my chest, my heart would stop beating. And it was like happening every few seconds, So I ended up just going to the emergency, called into work saying, I need to stop by the emergency room. And because I looked online at the time and it was like, you have to be really careful, you can have a stroke. And this sort of gets back to the dream I had about my wife having the stroke. But I looked it up and it said you have to be careful. If you have too many, you can get blood clots in your blood. It can go to your brain and cause a stroke or go to your lungs and kill you. And I'm like, well, I better stop by the emergency room. So I went in there, explained what was happening. They took me back to do the triage thing where they check your blood pressure and send you out in the waiting room typically, but they got me right back there like it was serious, what I mean? And hooked up the EKG or whatever it's called for the heart or whatever. And it kept beeping like it wasn't connected good. Like the connection wasn't good because my heart was so irregular with its beating,
Wow.
So they ended up writing a prescription for some stuff called Cardia, and I took that for several months, and every time I never did follow up with a doctor or anything. I just would just keep calling in a refill, and the emergency room doctor kept filling it for me, basically, because I didn't have insurance. So I took that for a few months, and then a friend told me to try magnesium. So I did that because it was actually cheaper than the medicine I was taking. So I tried that and it stopped. And then I took that for probably, I don't know, a couple of years or something. And whenever I would forget, I'd start getting heart palpitations. And that was my reminder, oh, you forgot your magnesium. Well, at some point I forgot to take it and didn't need to take it. And this was more like 2015. And that's when I realized, now looking back on it, that must have been when the whole heart Mandela effect thing happened. And my heart got moved, repaired or whatever, because I didn't need that. So now it's really rare that I get heart palpitations. But the other night I got one that lasted for like 10 seconds. I mean, it was like, it wasn't like my heart stopped for 10 seconds, but it was like skipping every other beat. I mean, I had that sensation in my chest, and I know that's one of the indicators when there's a huge influx of these energies from the sun.
I get
or
it.
the Schumann goes crazy. A lot of people will get those. So I did want to bring that up.
My heart does flip flops.
Yeah.
I feel it come in, and there's this like.
Yeah.
It's like flipping.
And I even got it in my solar plexus too. Of course that's not from the heart,
what I want to say is that it's moving down.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would get those palpitations and flip flops up here, and sometimes and feel pings here. So what I've been experiencing is the palpitations actually moving down into the first, second, and third chakras,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling those flip flops
Yeah.
and palpitations, um, down in there. But I think we talked about it last week, where I was feeling it more in the solar plexus, like feeling that same kind of sensation, and but feeling it down on, on beneath the ribs. But I've also now been getting this response, like feeling this flip flop down at the root, like, and it's a weird sensation, and it's like a ping. It comes in, and it's like ping, and it flip flops. It's very strange. But the amount of energy I'm experiencing, and it more noticeable again with the Schumann, that when we're getting these really big peaks at night, like 3, 4 in the morning here, or whatever, like I'm feeling it, like, much more strongly. Or also, if we've had a busy night, I've been waking up feeling the vibration, the thrum. It's like an oscillation.
Yeah.
Is And I'm feeling it that much, and it's like, yeah, it's like this, but it's like an oscillation.
Yeah,
And I
that's
literally, like,
exactly
the
what it
other
was.
morning I got up, and I'm like, I'm actually like, it's not my heart. I felt my heart was calm. I had a steady calm. My breathing was calm, but I'm feeling this and I was almost gonna go to mom and be like, can you, am I vibrating?
Right.
Can you
Almost
put
like what
your
we were
hand
talking
on me,
about,
because I
feeling it
can
in the
feel it.
bed and the bed shaking and
Yes, it's that
yeah,
vibration. It's a whoa, 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 whoa,
very
whoa.
strange.
Yeah. And so I'm feeling this. So when this kicks in, the whoa, whoa, whoa kicks in, then I'll get that pop, like the palpitations. But they're going much lower now, to the point where I can feel it, like going all the way down, ping off the root. There's a like a flutter, and then it goes back up again. But it's very noticeable now, and how
Probably
much
tied
I'm
to these
waking up.
energies then, huh? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Renee's saying that the magnesium not only is good for heart palpitations, it's also good for anxiety as well. So those people dealing with the anxiety, because I know I try to just transmute it into excitement when I feel it, just taking those few breaths like we were talking about last week,
Mm-hmm.
which seems to help sort of flip the switch on what I'm feeling and turning it into excitement rather than anxiety. But yeah, it is nice to have magnesium on hand. Just have
Mm-hmm.
a bottle of it if you start feeling an excess amount of heart palpitations or stress or anxiety. You can take some of that. I even actually heard a while back that if you have a heart attack or anything with your heart, that if your magnesium levels are high, you have a much greater chance of surviving the trauma to your heart or whatever. So
Right.
it's
Right.
important to have it around, and it can help with muscle cramps, just like potassium does. Okay. Okay, I thought that was my phone. I guess you're pretty popular today,
I'm sorry. I'm
huh?
like, stop! Just stop. I can't I can't get mad at Tyler for answering my happy birthday message I sent earlier. So I don't know, but it's like, yeah, I've got 3 different things paying off, but I can't turn it off. It's on Hangouts, which I've got running right now. So I
Well,
can't turn it off.
what about other people in your life experiencing things? I know my daughter, my 22-year-old, she has been up 23 now. She just had a birthday. 23-year-old. She's been really waking up to all of this stuff. She had some really cool stuff happen. I guess I could say this without. Okay, so she sends me this. I was telling her how like your higher self will joke around with us a lot, and it has a great sense of humor and all of this stuff, and just to look out for it, because I get stuff all the time that's like, and even sometimes when I have a quick witty comeback, I thought it was me, but now I know like it's your higher self, like kind of like you're channeling your higher self in
Yeah.
that moment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But very good sense of humor, very loving and lighthearted. And the more you get in this relationship with your higher self, the more you can recognize it. So I'm like telling her all this stuff, and she sends me this text the other day, and she says, "So I got high at work on lunch, and then the boss had me engrave something really quick for his friend, and this was it. Laugh out loud. Think it was a sign." So she shows me this little thing she had to engrave, and it says, it says, visualize your higher self. Here, let me see if I can actually hold this up for the camera here. It's going to be too low for you.
Yeah, I can't see.
It's just bright. Oh, actually, it's showing up
your
better for you. So it's
visualize your highest self.
Yeah, visualize your highest self.
And start showing up as her. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's so funny.
So anyways, yeah, so she's starting to like wake up. She's starting to experience things. She's starting to see things.
Yeah.
Oh, it was backwards for everybody. I thought it was only backwards for me. I'm so sorry, guys.
That's okay. Anyway. Yeah, it said visualize your highest self and start showing up as her.
Right. So you gotta love it. I was cracking up laughing, and because she don't normally smoke weed or anything, so I guess her and a friend, coworker, probably went out or something.
Right.
And then she gets back, and her boss has her to this job, and it's like her higher self is cracking a joke with her for getting high.
I think it likes to remind us not to take ourselves so seriously. That's how I kind of look as the sense of humor that our higher self has.
Yeah.
Is when it comes in, it's like this reminder to not take yourself so seriously.
It could even been she was feeling a little guilt about it. You know how it is.
Yeah, and it was like, yeah, really?
Look,
don't worry
easy,
about
dude.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Are you happy? I bet you are.
Just enjoy it.
Just enjoy being happy.
So anyway, it's so great to see, especially your own kids. But here she is. She's like a little, maybe a year or two younger than Alexis, who's going to be on or whatever. And it's like this new generation is like getting it so much quicker than we did.
Yeah.
It's like they're on the fast track. So much stuff is already online and opened up, and they see so much more clearly than I did at that age. That's for sure.
Well, you know what? They don't have those old practice, as many years of practice with those programmed belief systems that we have had. So it's much easier for them to shed those things because they're still in the process of developing their own belief system. So it's natural for them to be constantly adapting and trying things on. No, that doesn't fit. Take it off. Try on something. Does this fit? No, in that process. So they're much more malleable to those things. But I've always had that perspective of philosophy. I've always seen this since my early 20s. It was I always went down that road, into looking into Nostradamus, into looking into astrology and numbers and all of these different things. The synchronicities, the world always spoke to me. I saw that very young, that you would literally get answers that would come back to you through synchronicity. So it has been the way I've followed that road, made choices, seen the signs, looked for all those things. So I have always communicated that to my kids and talked about dreams and deeper meanings. Mm-hmm.
That actually reminds me of Pamela's dream vision. At the end when it's like your old paradigms, your old programming is dissolving away. Mm-hmm. If there's less programming to start with, there's less to dissolve away. There's less blocking them.
Yes.
So I mean, they really got it pretty good. And can you think of the next generation, assuming we don't flip the switch soon? Because I feel like we're at some definite tipping point. Like these dreams and visions people are having seem to indicate that we're at a tipping point.
Absolutely.
And it even came through in some sessions that we have non-terrestrials just standing by waiting, waiting for us to hit this tipping point, and this split will occur, and then they will come down. They have to wait for the split to occur to be able to come down with those who sort of jump up to the higher level, and they're not going to try to shoot them out of the sky, I guess. I don't really know. I'm just speculating on that part. But they can, they'll be dealing with a grouping of people who aren't so animalistic on one hand, you know what I mean?
I'm getting this interesting picture of a teeter-totter. Again, the twos, it's coming back to the twos, which we started talking about at the beginning, and the twos and that balance and this teeter-totter, and that what we've been experiencing these last few years being an experience of that teeter-totter but it almost again gets you to say, well, what side do you want to be on? With what do you want to align yourself with? So we've kind of been on this rapid teeter-totter.
Yeah.
But now it's at the point where it's like, you ever when one of the kids jumps off?
Right.
I had that happen to me when I was really young. I still remember it. And that's what I'm getting the impression of what's happened now. Boom. So it's like the choice is being made. We're not doing as much of that teeter-tottering anymore. We've seen both sides of the coin. We've seen both options. We've made a declaration. We've declared what it is our choice is, which is this higher vision of existence and reclaiming our sovereignty and the universe being within and all of that. That choice is being made. So, but there's a launch to that.
Right. Yeah.
Is what I'm seeing. So yeah.
And it's like as more and more
the results of that teeter-totter now, and that choice being made, and that leap being taken.
And if you can imagine the scales, it's like the more and more people because people are waking up every single day for any number of reasons going around. It can be conspiracies, it can be the Mandela effect, it can be so many different things, and people wake up to that and they start to, and it's like dropping stuff on this scale, and it's definitely, like
and
you're
now
talking
I
about.
see it's gone. That's it. That's exactly what I'm getting. Like it's gone. Boom.
Right.
Like so suddenly, and like what I'm seeing too for the beginning, like the first, especially 3 months this year, and what always comes back to is March. We get this huge culling in March. This wave of energy comes in, and we're experiencing it like through dreams and through different things. We experience this energy come in, and it just keeps hitting it, and it keeps culling and scooping up more and more people. So, but yeah, that boom, that scale has just gone so drastically now. There's no going back. There's no going backwards at this point. So
well, that's how I was in 2017. I like hit my lowest point right in the Christmas winter season, and then as we moved into the spring equinox around March 22nd,
that's right.
That's when I woke up to the Mandela effect, and then and like it's kind of freaking out at first, like when your alarm goes off and it's been going off for a while, and you're like dreaming about getting ready for work or whatever, and then you realize like, oh my God, I'm just dreaming about it. Then you wake up and then you're sort of rushing around trying to get ready. That's totally how I felt. It was like I realized I'd been looking at the Mandela effect for a while and kind of like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. And then like all of a sudden the thinker and the lion and the lamb, and I was like, oh my gosh, something's been trying to wake me up,
Yeah.
Now I'm more relaxed about it, and it was more of an excitement then because coming out of my dark night of the soul, anything was more exciting than that, So just the fact that I woke up in this sci-fi reality where the Mandela effect is changing things in this seemingly impossible way was super duper exciting because everything seemed so meaningless right before that. So, and they say that like, when the trampoline goes down, the further down it goes, the further up you spring up. And that's totally, I felt like I hit like rock bottom and sprung up, right at that time.
And you know what's coming to me too is like, so when you first recognize that process, how much time did you spend trying to decide whether or not the Mandela effect was a good thing or a bad thing, whether it was being done negatively or it was being done for your benefit? And so what's been coming up in conversations with Mom and sort of guiding her through this process as well is it's again stepping back from that judgment of like, well, this is good or it's bad. We talked about that this last week as far as there's catalysts, the Kali Yuga, that can be determined as something that's bad. It's chaos. It's a thing that's required, disassembling required in order to create new. It's just process. It's not good or bad, right? And that in a sense, no matter how the Mandela effect or any of these things may have occurred or what instigated the occurrence of it, we don't even need to apply this judgment on anymore of like, well, it's good or it's bad, because it's just simply a catalyst
Yeah.
for change.
And it's good and bad depending on what the people see.
It's
I mean,
only perspective, just like
yeah, but I mean, for somebody that thinks it's Satan, they're like having a hard time with it, and it, you know, they'll find things that sort of confirm their beliefs in that, and
yes,
their life becomes hell, and they start worrying that things are out of control and that the devil's
yeah,
going to get them and all this. But you know, at the same time, I took a step back and I thought, well, what if it is a good thing, you know? And then when I thought about how gentle the changes were and how much more harsh they could be and scary, and I mean, like the traffic lights changing, they changed in a seemingly invisible way. I mean, it's not like they changed and all these wrecks happened worldwide. You
right,
know what I mean?
right.
If it was Satan doing it, wouldn't he do it like that way, where there's maximized chaos and danger and death and mayhem and all this? It's done in a way nobody even notices it's happening if they don't want to notice it. If they want
Yeah,
to doubt it's happening, they're able to just put it off and say, oh, it just must be misremembering it. It's very gentle in my.
yeah.
I mean, for being what it is, it's like a world game changing thing. I'm not
But
saying
that's
it's
it.
not.
It's waking people up. So
Yeah.
whether or not even the initial intention was to create good or bad, no matter what, it's a catalyst for people waking up, right? Just like 9/11, terrible thing that happened, but it's also been a catalyst for people to realize all the deception, all the lies through the media, how things are presented. It's a catalyst. It was a terrible thing that happened by, you know, bad
Mm-hmm.
people for their own reasons and their own agendas and their own intentions, and it caused a lot of pain and it caused a lot of, but there's a flip side to that as well. There's always the other side of the thing. And even when you look at your own personal experience is within your life and that bad thing that happened to you, well, what was it a catalyst for?
Right.
It moved you on to this other step that brought you to a higher place. So was it really a bad thing? Because you're prejudging where it is on that
Mm-hmm.
scale,
Yeah.
but it all leads us back. It all
Yeah.
leads us back to what we truly are, and that we push the boundaries as far as we can away from what we are, only to snap back that much quickly into recognizing what we truly are. So
Yeah.
they're just catalysts, and
Yeah, rungs
it
on the ladder. My mom
yeah,
used to say, "What the devil means for evil, God to turn to good," and you can really see that with so many different things, like what the internet was originally intended for, and what it's become. It's become a way for all of us to gather here and meet each other and all this, you know. And it's
mm-hmm.
like from one thing to the next, you can see how they might have had nefarious intentions for something right away, but it always flips around into something else.
If life gives you lemonade or lemons, right?
Make
Life gives you
lemonade.
lemons, make lemonade. Yeah, because the choice again is yours.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. On perspective, but the more we can step back from prejudging everything, determine, because you can't know the depths of another's mind and soul, you can, or experience, or any of those things, and the more that we can step back in judging these things and just seeing them all as a part of the whole that is
Yeah.
moving in that direction. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what it appears like on the surface of what it looks. Meanwhile, the mechanics behind it all are leading back up that way anyways. And
Yeah.
especially with the current energy, the way that it is, I just feel like no matter what somebody with negative intentions tries to do, it's like the more that they would try to push and project that negative intention out, it really is that much more that it's coming back on them. So it's they are their own catalyst in a sense.
Yeah.
It's really got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So you can stay out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you choose to take up that role in that drama or not. Like we've been talking
Yeah.
about for months, you know. You can
Yes.
observe it, or you can say, "Oh, I think I'll play this part for this person right now," and then
Yes.
but you pull yourself into it when you do that.
You
But you don't
do,
have
that's
to.
right. You don't have to.
You don't
And I
have
think
to.
when you can view it from that perspective, it really helps you sort of step back from it and say, well, I don't need to predetermine and make those judgments. Therefore, I don't need to like tell them what I think and tell them what they should be doing. Like there's so many things that we can get embroiled in drama by making decisions or thinking that who our ego is going to make a decision on what is good and what is bad. I think we're holding ourselves back in many ways from that, of being able to have that 20/20 vision, to see things so much more clearly by stepping back and seeing a larger picture.
Yeah.
But by not making those prejudgments.
Yeah, I've really taken what I've applied to myself and seeing how I've gotten to where I am right now, and that I've been in a lot of these states of other people that I might want to judge if it comes up, but then I think, the way I look at myself, I look at everyone that way, and I say, you know what, everyone's right exactly where they're supposed to be right now. And it's not my job. It's my job to love them where they're at. And if they want to ask me something, I can answer it, but it's not my job to start pushing my beliefs or views or anything on anybody.
Yeah.
Let them be. Let it be, as it say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. Everybody's on their journey and just sort of like, oh, yeah. Even if you've been there, you can think, oh, I remember when I was there. And, but so much we want to give them that next nugget, but you can't jump over rungs on the ladder. You know what I mean? You just have to experience it, and you don't get it. Even if you give them a bit of information that might help them, it's like they're only going to understand it so much. You have to just sort of go through the motions.
It is a fine balance, because sometimes there are words it's so much easier to be helpful when it's appropriate. Yeah. If you can put yourself in that place of stepping back, from just giving all the answers and allowing somebody else to unfold in a process. It's kind of like being a parent. You don't just reach in there and take it out of their hand. No, I'll just do it for you, right? You might reach and say, well, maybe if you try pulling back that corner and seeing what you see there, like try opening it that way, see what you see. How does that look? As opposed to just taking it out of their hand and unwrapping it for them. It really is beautiful when you can sort of take a step back and release the judgment I had, and then realize that not everybody even goes through things in the same order. Yeah.
I had somebody leave me this long comment about how they just loved my show, used to watch me all the time, but now they found Jesus, right? And now they don't get the synchronicities like they used to and everything. Now my first gut reaction was, you're not getting the synchronicities? What? That's like the signpost you're on the right track and all this. But, I read this long thing, and it was really written out of love. Like, it was almost like I'm on the sinking Titanic from their point of view, and they turned the lifeboat back around and came back for me.
Right.
Now, typically, we don't see it that way. We typically see it, why they think they know better than me, and I've been there before, and, and all I just said, I thank you, and hearted their comment, Thank you for taking the time, because they were writing it out of love, and I could have allowed it to trigger me into thinking like, dude, if you're not getting synchronicities, you're off track, and you're not,
But then you're just doing the same thing that they are.
Right. And then I'm just judging. But then I realized, and then I saw the beauty in it, and it's like, wow, this person thought enough of me to turn their lifeboat back around from their point of view, and come back for me, and say, I found a way out of this.
And what's working for them can be two totally different things. Yeah. And you can be okay with that.
Yeah, the thing is, they have momentum in their growth, and they're moving down their road, their journey. They're progressing. I mean, we look at it as right. We were looking at it as regressing, like, oh wait, you're going back where I used to be. But all of our paths are going different ways, and just for the simple fact of being able to see beyond the triggering of thinking I know better, and realizing that person just wrote that out of pure love. They really liked me, and they took the time to write these 3 paragraphs. I'm not going to stomp out their flame of passion that they have right now. I just want them to keep on moving down the way they think is right,
Yeah, exactly.
So it ends up being a beautiful thing, and you see things so much more differently when you can release the judgments and
not take it personally. You don't get triggered.
And you don't have to write as long of a comment either. I just
was able to say
thank you and put some nice little emojis, and I was done,
And how much better does it feel to be that person that can do that? You can breathe easier. You can feel like, okay, I feel me.
You really release it when you do that. You know, if I had left this thing, and then you think, well, I should have said this, and I should have said this, and even after you've written the comment, I probably should have said this too, and then
You're doing that. You probably should just go breathe,
right,
and not to do this or that for a little while.
right.
But that's your choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Let's see, you guys. I guess we can wrap this one up. Lots of love to you guys in the chat and watching later. And thank you again, Michelle, for being here.
Always love you all. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. And yeah, throw your comments. Anything you want us to talk about next week, or we'd love to hear your ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as we were talking about Alexis Buck from Ascension Diary, she's going to be here in about 46 hours on the channel. And we're going to be talking more about the Schumann. We'll see what she thinks about what me and Michelle were looking at earlier with this ladder-looking pattern.
Yeah, I'll be listening, so yeah. I'll be there in the chat for that one. Haven't spoken to her a little bit, so it'll be really nice to hear her and hear what she has to say. So
it's been a while. We want to keep in touch. And when Paul brought her up, I'm like, I need to see if I can get her back on, and she was happy to come back. So
it's just adorable.
Yeah. All right, peace, you guys. Love you.
Love you.
Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.